The time has finally come. The Leatherman Crunch, one of the longest running Leatherman multi-tools, has been officially discontinued. So today we're going to talk a little bit about this tool if you've never seen it before, and well, see where we go from here. All right, so where do we start? I guess it makes sense to talk about the history, beginning with when this originally debuted in 1999. It's been more than 20 years of longevity, and that's saying something. That really is quite impressive for a tool to remain on the market for that length of time. And yes, I would say that the construction has diminished a little bit over time, but generally speaking, this is exactly what you will get as you did in the past. And in some ways, you might find that things like the file, for instance, are actually better now than they were in the earlier iterations. Now let me talk about the tool set real quick, because some people have not seen it, so it's worth taking a look at. First and foremost, this tool is quite compact, very, very small for something that is actually vice grip, okay? And it actually comes in around 7.5 ounces in weight. It has locking implements right here with this locking tab. And when we open it, what you can see here, we fold out this head and then it actually clips in right there. Boom, and now we have a vice grip multi-tool. So tighten this down real quick. And there you go. That is the Leatherman Crunch. Now this particular set of vice grips has a large grabbing section, a fine front section, along with this really useful little gap. I've talked about this in the past. And it also has pass cutters as well, hard wire and soft wire. Right here, you can see right here, there's actually a wire stripper built into this little notch, pretty clever. And we have internal tools as well. So we have a serrated blade, a fully serrated blade, and this actually makes a lot of sense because it's kind of more of an industrial tool. This is something that will help you cut a lot of man-made materials, piping, and so on. We have a Phillips driver and large flathead. We also have a small flathead and a file. So the small flathead has a bottle opener. There's a lanyard ring right there. And then the last implement inside is a three-sided file. So you have a metal cutting surface, you have a cross-cut file, and a straight cut file. Now there's some other really cool features about this tool, including the first time I believe that they introduced an integrated bit driver. Now the location of this is really clever. If you unscrew the section that holds in the plier right here, you actually can get access to this bit driver. Now this is super smart because it can use double-sided bits, it can use the Leatherman bits, and it can use a standard hex bit. So really, really, really cool little tool. Not much more to say. I mean, there's been other variations. Gerber made one, Kershaw made one, but none have been as impactful as the Leatherman Crunch when it comes to trying the locking vice grip. Now at this point, I'm very curious to ask what you guys feel about them discontinuing the Crunch. And I know there are some people out there that really swear by this tool because it is a very compact form factor that keeps a lot of different tools all in one. And I've talked to a lot of people that carry this and another multi-tool because together they actually make a great pair. This is going to be a hole that will be felt by, I think, a lot of engineers, a lot of mechanics, people who really like this as a backup implement in their particular trade. And so that's unfortunate. I've talked to people who this is the only tool that they carry and they depend on it. So I'm curious to see what they will do in the future. Let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Now, I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt to say that they are thinking logically. And let's just give you why I would discontinue it were I Leatherman. Every component on this tool is basically only for the Leatherman Crunch. There is nothing else in this tool that I've seen that can cross over anywhere. It has a completely different locking mechanism, a different size. I think the pivot size is the same, but the total tang dimension is completely different than you'll find in almost any other tool. So for that reason, I think that logistically, it makes a lot of sense to discontinue something that only has like one purpose, right? You have to dedicate tooling to different products in your lineup. And if you're limited in space, you're making everything in the US and so on, you have to kind of pick and choose what it is you're doing. That's the logical approach. I think had they had more industrial tools for the average consumer, this would probably not be felt nearly as badly. But it feels like the average, heavy user is not being considered as much anymore at Leatherman. I mean, with the new R coming out, that is not a tool for the average, tradesman or handyman or fisherman. That's not what that's for, right? Like we have currently the Super Tool 300 and the Leatherman Surge, but we're kind of missing other heavy-duty tools that can support people who depend on these things day to day. And if you're always wondering, like, and I get this comment quite often, why would I carry a multi-tool instead of dedicated tools? And I did an entire video on this thing to try to explain it. There are instances in where space and time are both constraints, and that's when multi-tools really shine. And so it's one of those things where you can save yourself a trip, therefore you make more money. That's about the simplification that I can get to it, but it doesn't have to be better than a dedicated tool in any way for it to still be a good thing to have with you. And I think that the presence of the Crunch, or lack thereof, is going to be really felt by a lot of people. And so I'm hoping that Leatherman will make a version 2, but I just don't see it happening in the free platform. It's simply not designed to be able to accommodate a locking plier, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong. But I can see where they kind of are going with their lineup. The other reason I'm not as upset as maybe I would be, besides the fact that I said it was likely discontinued over a year ago, is that I've recently started integrating the Irwin 4-inch vice grip in my EDC from time to time, and I find it to be particularly useful, and it's inexpensive. I could get the 5-inch variation to be a little bit closer to the size of a Leatherman Crunch, but this is actually forged, and I can be really abusive with this, something I probably wouldn't do with most multi-tools with cast plier heads, which is pretty much all of them. The same thing is true with the Knipex Cobra and the Knipex locking, plier wrench. These are tools that I've started to utilize, and maybe I reality-wise, even when I thought this hadn't been discontinued, I wasn't carrying it as much already. These things didn't really exist. Well, this did, but these two did not really exist. And now with the 100 series Cobra as well, I can see why this is kind of falling off as an option. I think that when you carry something like these things or a dedicated pair of vice grips plus another needle nose multi-tool, you might get similar or even better combinations than you actually have with the Leatherman Crunch. Just trying to be optimistic and try to give people some options. I know it's going to be felt. I'm certainly going to kind of keep my eye out for additional solutions, and if any other tool brands are going to be trying to make something similar, but as it stands, this is where we are. Yeah, so rest in glory, Leatherman Crunch. You will be missed. I will be keeping mine for perpetuity's sake because it's a great reference point, and if people want to know about it, it's a good thing to show in the future. If you want one, good luck. These are going to end up hitting the secondary market on things like eBay at well over that 200 price point. If my guess is correct, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I would imagine it's going to be very expensive to get your hands on one. And if you have one, I will end with this last tip. Remember to mark your tool sentimental when you send it in for warranty. If you don't do that, there's a chance that they send you back a similar multi-tool that is currently in production and you won't be able to get another crunch ever again. So just make sure that you do that, and you'll be able to continue to use the 25-year warranty. Now, I bought this recently, so I'm curious to see how long they will support replacements, but I'm still probably going to end up just carrying a dedicated vice grip when I want to instead of the Leatherman Crunch. The thought of breaking it would just, yeah, that's just not even worth it. Anyway, that's it for today. Leatherman Crunch is going to be discontinued. You cannot buy them on Leatherman's website. I did check; they ran out almost instantly. And yeah, that's here we are. As always, thank you guys for your time, and we'll talk again soon.